following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
To the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Wake up, America! It's time for the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY.com, West Palm Beach's #1 internet radio station. Here's your host, the Pipeman.
Yo, happy Monday. It's the Positively Pipeman segment of the Adventures of Pipeman here on W4CY Radio. I can't speak today. That's the second time that's happened to me in a week. I better get that checked out. It might have to do, though, with the fact that today, I don't know if everybody realizes this, but this is literally considered Blue Monday. I just found out this today after 59 years of living that they have a day dedicated to everything, but they have a day dedicated to the Monday blues. But what it's about is that apparently the third for a Monday of January every year is considered the most depressing day of the year. Who comes up with this shit? Like, let's change that. The most depressing, let's make it the most positive. Forget Blue Monday. Look forward to Monday. I don't get what's with this world that we thrive on negativity. And now even more so than ever, we focus on it and embrace it. Like, why do you people, I had somebody I was arguing with on Facebook earlier today. And I was like, man, you got nothing better to do in your life, all you people, but argue with each other just for the sake of arguing. It must be a miserable life to live. Like it's not that important. Most of the stuff is not that important. Maybe we'll get all the things we want out of life if we would just be positive. If we would just look at the positive side, not to, oh my God. So in that realm, okay, we do have some things we're going to talk about today. In the second half of the show, for the business part, we're going to talk about cash flow problems. You may look at that as a problem, but we have solutions. So again, forget the problem, focus on the solution. And now we're going to have some solutions with my special co-host today. Okay. We have our expert in the house, of course, the pet health guru. And we have our studio nuts, okay? But we have a new guest co-host today, and that is my friend over here, Poopy Puppy, okay? And he is going to be part of we have a new segment today. I named it just for today because of the subject. This is the Pooper Scooper segment of the Adventures of Pipeman. And with that, let's bring on the Pipe Nuts and the Pet Health Guru.
What a catchy name.
I know. And, I have it so perfectly set up. I didn't even do it on purpose. I noticed while I was talking, it looks like Poopy Puppy has a microphone next to me. Like, look, does it look like he's talking into the microphone?
It does.
Absolutely.
So we need to know, Pet Health Guru, we really need to know right now, not what the bird poop scoop is, but the pet poop scoop.
All right. Well, first off, talking about ridiculous things. One of the worst things I heard this morning driving into the store on the radio during the news, and they're talking about the weather, that here it is towards the end of January, and they're talking about this is the worst cold weather, the lowest temperature we've had this year. We've only had 25 days.
It has gone quick. Like, I woke up this morning, I'm like, damn, the year's almost over already. How does this happen?
I know, but yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, it's January. We're really just now getting into it, and you're already panic mode in Florida.
Listen, hey, people, it's January. It usually is the coldest month of the year, or thereabouts. Okay, no matter
Yeah,
where you are. Well, I won't say no matter where you are because the opposite side of the equator, it's the opposite. But
exactly.
you know, definitely here in the United States or anywhere on this side of the equator, except maybe on Rebels' neck of the woods because they're a bunch of rebels.
It's cold here.
How cold is it there, Rebel? We were very worried that you might not make it to a show today because while you were outside building your snowman, you became the snow lady.
Absolutely. Well, it is currently 36 degrees with it feels
That
like
ain't shit.
27.
That ain't shit either. That's not cold.
No,
It's
no,
12
it's cold,
o'clock right now.
but it's cold here too. It's 87.
And listen, go up to like northern Canada and tell them that feels like 27 is cold. That would be like a summer day
Yeah.
for some people.
Not for here.
Now, if it was that temperature here, now that might be cold. Actually, it might be cold where you are because you have the same humidity as us. And that's the thing I find down here is that it's colder here because of the humidity, because of the wetness in the air. Like I could be up in Jersey and it's 40 degrees and I'll wear a t-shirt, and here it's 40 degrees and I'm like putting on my leather jacket or something.
Well, the other part of that too is when you have heavy cloud cover, which you normally get here in South Florida. When that cloud cover's gone, all the heat goes away.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Up north in a snowstorm, you walk outside in a t-shirt because it's not that cold. Because snow is only at 25, and of course the temperature is insulating, the clouds are insulating. So, but don't give us a clear night up north because then it's freezing.
Oh yeah, totally. And you can always tell when it's going to snow because it gets warmer to snow.
Yeah.
It is the weirdest thing.
Not
sometimes.
according to the news.
Oh.
Not according to, the government, not according to the weather service.
I want to know why when my pet's poop is out there in the wild during the winter, why it turns white, but not from snow.
That's just a drying process. And that's because in the wild, and of course, when we look at a lot of different foods, that white chalkiness is actually extra calcium, extra bone coming out of the body.
Mm.
And when you're eating more of a meat diet, first off, it's going to be different. And we can get into that in a little bit. But, it's funny on the health side. We have been taught forever and ever and ever. Vomit and diarrhea, loose stools, bad poop, different poop, requires the assistance of the medical community. You have to run and see a white coat. Maybe you want to go to the emergency room for that one. It's so dangerous.
Don't fall for that stuff. People don't fall for that stuff.
The truth of the matter is on this, though, is basically that's elimination of what we've put in our mouth, through our nose, absorbed through our skin. And everything that goes into the body has to either be used or lose it. And it's a little part of it. Basically, all the things that we're talking about, this is nothing more than housekeeping. It's getting rid of the bad stuff. And what does your doctor want to do? Plug you up. Give you something to stop your vomiting so your body cannot get rid of.
I hope my doctor doesn't want to plug me.
I know, but that's the honest to God truth. The first thing they do, and it's funny, I do a little thing in my presentations about, a scenario. You're blessed with a young child, and you're blessed with a puppy, and you've got you're out working, and you've got a caretaker in there, your babysitter, whatever, and you get home. It's Friday night. I finished up the week's worth of work. I just want to go home, relax, maybe pour a glass of wine, you know, and enjoy my family. And you walk in the door, and the housekeeper, caretaker says, I'm out of here, by the way. The dog and the kid have got diarrhea. Have fun. So, of course, the first thing they do is pick up the phone, call the pediatrician. My kid's got diarrhea. Okay. So give them kind of a bland diet, a little bit of food at a time. And, if it's still a problem on Monday, call us. We'll try to get you in Tuesday or Wednesday for an appointment. So you hang up the phone and you call the animal hospital. And you say, my dog's got diarrhea. The first thing that they say to you, and this is programmed, oh my God, this is an emergency. When they said emergency, you know what that did to your bill? That's between $500 and $1,000 added to your bill. You have to rush them in. They give them antibiotics. They give them an anti-diarrheal medication. They put them on fluids. They haven't actually done an exam yet. And then because they did the other three things, they put them on an anti-vomit medication.
And it turns out all they did was eat some grass.
Yeah. So they plugged up this whole animal. So all that bad stuff is in the body. By the way, you got to keep them there over the weekend. So now you've got a boarding hospital care bill on top of it. Monday afternoon, you get the call, come pick up your dog. The dog is sicker than it was before.
Mm-hmm.
You got a whole bag full of medications for the next 2 to 3 weeks, and told a whole bunch of stuff that you have to do and avoid and everything else. Change the diet, everything else. In the meantime, Saturday morning, the kid was out in the backyard playing. Same condition, so-called same education on the doctor's parts. What was the difference? The money.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't they tell you to leave your kid there overnight? Okay, would you do it?
Because they don't want to be bothered with it. And the truth is on the animal hospitals as well, they're talking about around the clock monitoring and checking and all of that. Most of the time,
stay at those animal hospitals all night.
All they do is put them in. All they do is put them in a cage.
Yep, and maybe check on them once in a while. I mean, the number of emergency clinics that are out there for pets. The relief vet that's in there spends 70% of their time sleeping. And when you finally walk in the door, I need $5,000 in up front for us to even look at them. That's emergency care today.
Wow. So here's my question too, this is important because this happened to somebody I know recently. They were having some stomach issues. An intern, their dog was having some stomach issues. I think that's something called like hypochondria, munchkins, whatever.
Yes.
Because I always laugh when people's pets end up with the same exact condition. And so this person, who I know very well, of course he thought it was food poisoning. And of course he thought his dog got food poisoning too.
They eat the same thing?
Well, yeah. So when they go out to eat, he'll feed, like many people, he'll feed the dog some of his food. Okay. But he's very careful with it. But here's the thing. Okay. Takes the dog to the vet. The vet, only tested for everything except what this person wanted tested. And said, no, it's okay. No, didn't test for bacteria. Like that, they tested for parasites. So my question is, does the dog have the same parasites as me, you idiot vet? That's my thing, okay? Why wouldn't you test for bacterial, especially if your patient is thinking, or the patient's parent, or whatever you want to call it, is thinking it could be food poisoning. That's not from a parasite. That's from bacteria. So why wouldn't you test for that? keep the dog sick, I guess, so you can give them more meds, and because they did load the dog up with a bunch of meds. How do you load up a dog or a person with a bunch of meds? Because I see it all the time, and they don't even know what's wrong with you. It happens all the time with humans. You go in, they give you medication, they don't even know what's wrong with you. It's just like, here, take this. If this doesn't work, then call me. We'll put something, and we'll give you something else.
Yeah, that's exactly true, because what they're working off of is a cookbook. When somebody comes in and says this, on their computer screen, it says, give this. And they will give you a list of medications. Now, the other thing is there's really no, if you stop and think logically, if it's food, how can it be food poisoning? Your body won't allow you to eat poison unless it's disguised. How is it disguised? With chemicals, flavors, preservatives, all that stuff that they've been working on at least for 50 years that I know of. So it masks that. Basically, when you think you've got food poisoning, you've got chemical poisoning. Now, when you have this whole thing about the owner and or the pet parent and the pet having the same thing, gee, what could it possibly be? Could it be that yesterday I had the exterminator in the house, that I cleaned the whole house with Clorox? All these toxins that we put into our environment, our personal environment. Your dog's getting the same thing. I've talked on many of my shows on cancer, that when I get an animal coming in with cancer and I put them on herbals and diet and all of that, and they're like, okay, will this work? Well, it depends on the body. What else you're going to do with it? And by the way, because cancer is an environmental disease, you're living in the same environment. Guess what? You're going to get cancer unless you clean up your act. And of course, that's, the body's just getting rid of the bad stuff there. Food is the transport system. It goes in, it brings in nutrients, but it takes out very specific toxins that are already walled off in a mucus layer. So now when I eat a certain food and it pulls that toxin out, the body's going to say, let me get rid of it as quickly as I can, because now I have the ability to clean it out. You and I, you wake up in the morning and they spray it outside and whatever, and you wake up, your eyes are burning, you've got that nasal thing going on, all that mucus is dripping down in your belly, and now you get an upset stomach as well. We go in the shower, turn on the hot water as high as we can stand it, then we're coughing it all up, we're blowing our nose, it's all coming out of our body, we're sweating it out as well, and we're fine. Dogs and cats, they can't do that. They can't just spit it out. It's got to have a vehicle to go with it. And that's what the food is. Most of the time when I look at, especially today anymore, when they come in and tell me this problem, the first thing I say is, let me guess, when he vomited or when he had diarrhea, it was loaded with mucus. The mucus layers, which walls off the poison so we don't die. And the same thing is true with our pets. That's it. I mean, it's very simple, but the medical community has turned it into a major, major profit center.
Well, what I just thought of. What I just thought of too is, like, without a dog or a cat or any other pet for that matter, because vets, you can bring in any animal to a vet. First of all, how do they know every single animal? Okay, number one. There's no possible way. Every animal's different. Second of all, how do they know without the animal being able to tell them stuff? Like I always wonder how vets just know certain things. I don't think they really know is the point. But I mean, come on. You bring your, like, if Juan brings in his guppy to the vet, like, how does a vet know where it hurts? Like, you go to the doctor and they touch around and then they know where it hurts. Well, right. Well, but they also ask you, where does it hurt? They also ask you what your symptoms are. The pet can't tell you the symptoms. So do they just, like, bullshit everybody is my bottom line.
Yeah, well, that when you look at it, I got a couple of good examples. Number one, okay, so you got a lower back problem. I got pain in my lower back. You go to a physician and they give you painkillers. It kills the pain, but you're still doing the same movement the same way, and it's gonna cause problems on the road. You go
And worse because you have no
chiropractic,
pain. Worse because
right?
you have no pain. You'll do things
Yes,
you shouldn't be
exactly.
doing.
But
Yep.
you look at structure, so you go to a functional chiropractor, and they say, "But doc, my back is really, really bad. Lay down on the table." Okay? He starts manipulating your neck. It's like, "No, doc, it's my lower back." He moves a couple things around and says, "Stand up." And it's gone. That's one of the things is the difference in knowing the physiology. But the other part of that is I had actually had a case like this several years back where dog had issues, okay, vomiting and diarrhea, goes to the vet. They did an x-ray. X-ray said, oh, this dog has got a gassy stomach. That's all it is. This is one of the so-called Palm Beach best. A month later, I get a call on a Sunday morning. We're rushing back to the hospital. Dog technically dies walking in the door. They revived it 2 or 3 times later, and it still passed away. They called me and said, what should I do? They said that the dog had a heart attack. I said, put it on ice. I'm going to ship it to the state lab for a necropsy. Doctors don't do that. They're never looking for the real cause of death because in many cases, they're the ones responsible. So I get back the lab results a month later after sending it up to Orlando, and the cause of death, pyometra, which is an infection of the uterus. Now, this happened to be in a dog that was spayed. So now we know that the spay that they did 10 years earlier was botched. Secondary cause was a healing fractured skull. When we investigated it, on that first visit when they took it in for the x-ray, the dog flipped off the x-ray table and landed on its head. Diagnosis was heart attack. Heart had nothing to do with it.
Wow.
What can
Rebel,
you do
that
in that
sounds like
situation?
something that's happened to you.
So what can you do in that situation? What can you how can you prove that, or what can you do? Because I don't know
The
about
proof was
anybody
in
else,
the
but my
necropsy.
pets are kids, you know?
Yeah. Well, the proof is in the necropsy. However, okay, pets are property. They have set amounts of value, if you will, in the community, particularly the veterinary community, but not what is that animal is valued to you. So, I've been around dogs that have sold for $20,000, $30,000, show dogs and things of that nature, even more than that. Stud dogs that are money makers. But to the veterinary community, that dog is worth anywhere between $500 and $1,000. Now, you can sue. Now, you have to take out of pocket probably a minimum of $5,000 to $7,000 to hire a lawyer. And the law is going to give you back maybe $1,000. First off, I'm talking to my attorney. Okay, they're going to give me $1,000. Okay, you're going to take a percentage of that. Okay, so I'm an attorney. I'm going to do a job for $200 or $300 or $400. No, get out of my office. That's
I'll give a
justice.
perfect example of that. And it's not a pet example, it's a me example. So
Yeah.
I had a heart attack in Hawaii. They screwed it up, almost caused me caused my second heart attack. And I'm not a sue person. I never really have been, but people kept saying I should sue. They have malpractice, blah, blah, blah. And then I thought about it. And I was like, I was pre-med in college. And one of the reasons I didn't follow through was, of course, because I learned it in college why I don't believe in Western medicine. But I also found out that, by by the time you're done paying your malpractice insurance and your student loans as a doctor, you're not going to make money until you're in your 50s. I mean, little did I know that that would happen fairly quickly, back then, because I'm like 50s.
Right.
I'm not waiting until my 50s. That's like
No.
another lifetime from now. But
if you live that long.
Exactly. But the point is, so I did look into it, and I was calling all these lawyers in Hawaii, and no one would take my call even. Forget taking the case, taking my call. Finally, I got a lawyer that did, and they explained to me why all the other doctors didn't take my call. I mean, all the other lawyers didn't take my call. Because you're never going to win a malpractice suit. Even if you win, this is how crooked the system is. Even if you win a malpractice suit, you still don't get anything out of it and this is what he's explained to me. The reason lawyers won't take the case is because by the time you're done beating the system, you spent so much money that there's nothing left. And there's nothing left for the lawyers either, and so because all the money's going to pay for all the things you had to do to fight the powers that be,
Right.
So, the point is, what's the point of this malpractice insurance too? It's all a bunch of bullshit, So basically the bottom line is I was told you're not going to be able to sue them. Like they're so protected. You're not going to be able to sue them. That was word for word what was said to me, because nobody will take the case and you can't win anyway. It doesn't matter. They're too powerful.
Well, that and just the term malpractice is not really defined. It's basically somebody's perception whether he screwed up or not, even if it's proven. But just like, what's going on socially now, a police officer has to use his weapon. What was his state of mind at that point in time? What was the surgeon that was working on you have in their mind? I just saw a statistic that, especially when you get up in the medical community where you're, one of the top doctors or whatever, that something like 40 to 60% of them are druggies because they can't deal with the reality of what's going on in the body.
Be
and not only
please, druggies as in dealing out drugs to people on prescription, or
no,
because
druggies are people that do drugs.
I just
They're
wanted to
doing
be
the drugs.
specific for that question.
Yeah. The doctors are stoned. And I saw a statistic this weekend that 250,000 deaths occurred because of raw milk last year. Oh, wait a minute.
Wow.
No, that was a number of people that died from medical injury last year. Zero from raw milk.
And
what do you see?
I think part of that is just based on they rely on the system way too much rather than actually thinking about how to help you. Because I've been to a doctor, like last time I went to a doctor, and this is why I don't like going to a doctor anyways. My cholesterol was 2 points higher than what they consider to be normal, and she gave me cholesterol pills.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, wait a minute. What?
Fuck that. I'm going to be blunt.
I'm not going to say who my doctor is, but she told me, do not take them, but I have to prescribe them to you.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
that's the only malpractice, by the way. If they don't follow their cookbook, that's their malpractice.
She told me, she said, this is, you can take this and it'll help you lower your cholesterol to like more manageable levels to where the system is happy, but it's going to damage your liver long term.
Well, here's the thing too, okay? That is absolute fact, everything you're saying, because I was in the financial business when things started to change in healthcare, owned an insurance agency, and I was there and witnessed firsthand when insurance agencies or insurance companies started taking over healthcare. And basically, the deal is, because I was dealing with trying to get claims processed, and the deal is that doctors won't get paid by the insurance companies unless they diagnose you with something and possibly prescribe something to you. So to your point of what happens, because that doctor had to prescribe that medication to you, or else the claim would not get paid.
Yeah, and her exact words were, if I could give you a more natural way to manage it, I would, but this is what the system is showing me. This is what I have to give you.
Yep.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that's just it. I was talking with several clients last week about the same problem, and it was physicians, veterinarians are not allowed to talk about the other things, the alternatives, on their own. If they ask, if you ask your doctor, they hedge around it. They really can't
Yep.
say anything, and if they do, they lose their license. You're $500,000 into debt. Between student loans and your time you spent and everything else. If they take your license away, you can't even talk about medicine,
Yeah.
either on the veterinary side or on the medical side. You're not allowed to. You're basically given a gag order.
That's
So
what
what's it like to be
regulations
owned?
say. That again, Rebel.
So I wonder ask your doctor, what's it like to be owned? Like they're owned by the AMA? I think
Well,
that's
they are owned. You know.
Well,
You
that's
can't
what
take
Juan
when
just.
you're owned?
Well, that's what Juan just said. He says for the system to be comfortable with you.
Yeah, yeah.
And
If
this
it
is
shows
what-
them
You
on the
don't have a
computer that
choice.
they have to prescribe you something, there's no way around it. They have to prescribe it.
This is
Yeah.
what happens when you have too much regulation. Perfect example. While I was in the financial business, the Wall Street Journal could print an article, and it was perfectly legal because they weren't licensed. If I took that exact article, like cut it out of the newspaper and sent it to a client that they could go get themselves, I would be breaking the law, breaking the regulation, because it was not approved by the government for me to send that article to them. I used to have to literally go and get every single article that I ever mentioned approved by the government before I could talk about it or send it. But the average person could just walk into a newsstand and buy the newspaper. No problem.
So if you had this in your office, if you had the newspaper laid out to this article, would you be in any trouble?
If you
pointed to
had
it.
a client there, and yes, you pointed to it, and you made, like, they could find it themselves, but if you directed them to it, then you were breaking the regulations.
So if you had your waiting room, you had a newspaper, and they were reading this, and they came to you and showed you the article, would you be in trouble? If you talked about it?
No, if they
No.
showed the article, you could talk about it, but you would have to say to them, now keep in mind that article may not be balanced, and past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. And even though it's printed by a respected publisher, it's just an opinion, and there's nothing factual about it, and you cannot make your financial decisions based on that newspaper article.
And do doctors say the same thing? This is just an opinion.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
do they
yeah.
really?
Oh yeah, they cover their ass. They
When
It's
they're
all
talking
scripted.
about what they're giving you.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
yeah.
going to give you this prescription, but this is just my opinion because somebody told me I had to tell you this. Do they say that?
Are
No,
you kidding me?
they
No,
No.
they beat
Now-
around the bush, but they cannot tell you directly that they're under strict orders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And of course,
Take
when
people
we
like that.
started this topic, of course, to bring us back around, housekeeping. They don't want your body to house clean itself. That's why they start out with, vomit and, diarrhea and different poop is different. On all those scenarios too, depending on what you put in your body, depending on what you eat is going to have a profound difference in the way it looks, the way it comes out. Every time you use the bathroom, it's a brand new experience. You never know. And of course, the way our sewage systems are set up, okay, ours is going into a toilet filled with water that dilutes everything down. You won't even see if there's blood in your stool in many cases. But the dog is going out on the wee pad or outside, and everybody's crawling on the ground like, oh my God, this is different. Let me run to the vet.
I know, right?
It must be parasites too. And I think it was on the last Pet Health Cafe podcast, we talked about parasites. And of course, you mentioned it earlier on that that's one of the tests that they do. But they're only looking at 3 or 4 different parasites. We literally have thousands of different ones in our body every single day. There are actually good ones and bad ones.
Totally.
And I brought up as an example, and you'll appreciate this because of your background. Back in before 1950, pork, trichinosis, terrible parasite. We were feeding our pigs garbage in the streets. Eliminated in 1950. Now they keep talking, the doctors keep talking, or not the doctors, the food industry, parts of it, especially on the vegetarian and vegan side. Oh my God, you're going to get 10,000 parasites from pork. Not true. But it's been eliminated since 1950.
Wow.
But today, now I know that in the pet food industry, they use a ton of pork. I've never known a veterinarian to do a test for trichinosis.
Amazing.
Not one.
Let's tell everybody how they can reach out to you for more information. Check out your podcast. Check out My Paleo Pet. Get your products, all that good stuff before we segue from poop that's not causing any cash flow problems to vets to how we can solve your business cash flow problems. And so you too can be as profitable as veterinarians.
There you go. Yes, so you can reach me, of course, at quite often at Pet Health Cafe, the podcast. You'll be able to get a lot of information on a lot of different topics, health, wealth, all that stuff, how you can basically keep yourself in a state where you don't have to use these doctors. My Paleo Pet is our both our website and our retail store. You can communicate through there. You can order the products directly on mypaleopet.com. You can call the store. That one is 954-971-2500. You can book a consultation, a private consultation with me through the website or through the store. And we keep looking at different cutting edge technologies, things that are going to only build the body. Every product in our selection is both safe and useful for both humans and pets. And we have of course, on the food side, our farm to table program. All the stuff is raised here in the state of Florida, so it's all local. We're eating local again now, which is a good thing, and clean. No antibiotics, no hormones, no vaccinations on our animals. Completely grass finished, which is almost impossible to find anywhere. So we've got a good program for both you and your pet.
Love it. Always love the advice you give people and your wealth of knowledge, Pet Health Guru. And we're going to segue over into some wealth of business knowledge for wealth for you and your cash flow problems. But first, let's see about giving away some tickets to some festivals. Remember, after you see this, reach out to Pipeman Radio on all socials, and you too can be entered to win festival tickets to Sonic Temple and Welcome to Rockville. Roll it, Juan.
The Sonic Temple Art and Music Festival returns May 14th through 17th with My Chemical Romance, Tool, Bring Me the Horizon, and Shinedown. Plus, Pierce the Veil, Good Charlotte, The Offspring, Sublime, Godsmack, Breaking Benjamin, Marilyn Manson, and so many more. Sonic Temple in Columbus, Ohio, May 14th to 17th. Passes on sale now for as low as $1 down at sonictemplefestival.com. Welcome to Rockville. Returns to Daytona International Speedway May 7th through 10th with Foo Fighters, My Chemical Romance, Guns N' Roses, and Bring Me the Horizon. Plus, Turnstile, Five Finger Death Punch, The Offspring, Breaking Benjamin, A Day to Remember, Godsmack, and so many more. Welcome to Rockville, May 7th through 10th. Passes on sale now for as low as $1 down at welcometoRockville.com.
to the Adventure of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio with our resident business expert with some powerful business strategies here on the Positively Pipeman segment. Let's welcome Michael Barbarita. How are you?
Excellent, Dean. Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And like last week, we were talking about ice cream and lines of credit.
That's right.
And this week, we're talking about solving cash flow problems. Hopefully, that doesn't mean your ice cream's melting.
Right.
But I do think they kind of go hand in hand. So what advice do you have for our listeners?
Yeah. So, cash has hiding places. And it probably takes me about 5 to 10 minutes to look at a balance sheet and really understand where the cash is going. Sometimes it's going, it's hiding in inventory. Sometimes it's hiding in receivables. Sometimes it's hiding in something called prepaid expenses, which is something your bookkeeper will put, like if you had to pay a deposit for a trade show that's happening in the future, that would go into prepaid expenses. Or if you had to make a big deposit on an insurance policy, that would go into prepaid expenses, because that's an expense that would happen every month and it'd be incurred every month, but not all at once, which was, for example, if the deposit is 5 months of insurance, that shouldn't all go to insurance expense in 1 month. It should get spread out over 5 months, and it usually hangs out in prepaid expenses and gets taken out of prepaid expenses and into insurance expense as time passes. And with respect to the trade show, whenever the trade show occurs, that's when the expense occurs. So that's another place. Another place it could be hiding is capital expenditures. If you're buying equipment, or if you have equipment loans. What people don't understand is that when you have an equipment loan, you make a payment of interest and principal. The only thing that goes to the P&L is the interest. The principal piece reduces liability on the balance sheet and doesn't show up on the P&L. So when people make $20,000 and they say, well, where is it? If they had principal payments on equipment loans, or any kind of loan for that matter, of $20,000 or $30,000, they now have a negative cash flow. They made 20 and then 30,000 went to pay down the principal on loans. So people don't understand that. People think if they make 20,000, they could take out 20,000. That creates cash flow problems if you have other things like loans where you're paying the principal on those loans. You're actually expending cash when you make those payments. That doesn't show up on the P&L. So that's really a tricky area for a lot of people, Dean. I see that time and time again. So we have a program called 90 Days to Fast Cash. And what we do, the first thing we do in that program is we find the hiding places where cash is hiding. Now, certainly, we'll look at receivables and we'll explain. We have a number of strategies that we use when it comes to how to manage receivables. And to give you an example, I was just working with a client in the month of October, and that client, I was able to show that client how to pick up $200,000 of additional cash flow in 2 weeks, just by managing the receivables properly. And one thing that's real interesting, I see this a lot in the trades. When a tradesperson goes to a house and finishes the job, it's customary to get paid when the job is finished, not to put it on your receivables.
Right.
People in the trades have to understand and learn how to manage their receivables, where when they finish the job, they tell the business, the customer, the residential customer up front, we're going to collect a check or get a credit card when the job is done, period. But I can't tell you how many people in the trades just blow off that piece of it and then they have a receivable, and then it never gets paid.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's cash flow that you're missing out on.
That's because their money is hitting in a mattress.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing to me. But one of the things we do in our 90 Days to Fast Cash program is cash has hiding places. And so we find the hiding places. And sometimes that could reveal, in the case of my client in October, a couple $100,000 of cash flow in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But we also talk about and how to strategically raise prices, something that business owners, and I say the word strategically because there's strategic ways to do that with packaging and bundling, with upsells, downsells, and cross-sells. There's strategic ways to increase prices where it's not even noticeable. Some companies have an opportunity to raise their prices 2 or 3%, and their customers won't even notice it. But that's 2 to 3% more gross profit points, which can be very significant on big volumes. So strategically raising prices, strategically cutting costs. And what we do when we cut costs is we ask the business owner 4 key questions. Is that expense going to help acquire a customer? Is the expense going to help retain the customer? Is the expense going to increase the long-term value of the customer? And is the expense help deliver the product or service to a customer? If it doesn't qualify in any one of those, if the answer is no to all of those, you cut the expense. So we have that was just one example, but we have strategic ways of cutting expenses. We also encourage clients with cash flow problems to increase or get deposits from a customer when they sell a customer. It's customary to get a retainer if you're in the professional services business, or if you're in the trades, obviously get a deposit. Now, I helped one of my clients in the trades. He was given a 10%. He was asking for a 10% deposit, where it was customary in that trade to ask for a third deposit. That increased his cash flow 25% in 2 months because he's asking for the bigger deposit.
And people are used to it. Like I think people actually will be a little concerned if it's smaller than the average, to be honest. Like
right.
That maybe it's not legitimate, even though you think you're doing the right thing by taking less of a deposit, you might be, stabbing yourself in the foot, to be honest.
And you know what kills me? They never mentioned it as a feature of their product when they were talking to the customer. Okay, so they had a lower deposit, but they never used it as a selling technique.
Yeah, that would be a selling point. So I have a perfect example of this. So my dad, that's how I got into the pool and spa business from a very young age. He was in the spa business, and when he was older and his health was ailing, I was helping him with his spa business while I was actually literally starting the radio network. But I was helping him, so I was working like 50 million hours a day. But I came from the investment business, and he had this sales pitch to get people to buy that worked quite effectively for him, where, these $8,000 spas, all you had to do is put a $200 deposit down. And in his mind, he wanted only $200 because he didn't want to spend that money that was coming in and then it be a problem come time when it was to deliver the spa. Now, I came in with a very different attitude coming from the investment business. I got people to pay up front, 100% deposit.
Yeah,
and every time, and they didn't even flinch because it's all about how you say it and how you present it, And he used to get actually upset at me for doing that. Don't do that. I don't want to have to give. I'd rather give back 200 if I have to than 8,000. But here's what happened. The people that only put $200 deposits down, they're quick to cancel, even if they think they won't get the 200 back, because it's just a $200 Whereas none of the deals I would sell would cancel because they were fully vested in it. So not only from the viewpoint of how much money that they already put out, but the fact that the mindset of already putting it out, okay, and also the mindset of, I'm already fully vested in this, and they take ownership of whatever they're buying. Like the people that were paying $200 deposits were not taking ownerships of the spas. They're like, okay, I'll just give the $200 to, shut the salesperson up, Right. Whereas with me, they were giving the full amount, and they had already completely made their decision that wasn't going to change. And in their mind, their mindset is they already own the spa. It's already in their backyard.
Unbelievable. And, to your father's credit, though, at least he used that as a selling technique.
Yes, he did.
My clients, when they were doing that, they weren't even using it as a sales technique.
Yeah, that's just dumb.
There was no benefit whatsoever. Here they are giving an advantage, and they're not even using it in their sales pitch.
Oh, I would use it all the time if it were me.
Right. They never did. So, it's just one of those things that they're not thinking about. They need someone to help them think about these things. And that's where we come in, Dean. And there are so many little tidbits like that, little tweaks. These are just small. This isn't like we're going to blow up the business. It's just small little tweaks.
Yeah.
On most of these things. And as we continue with our 90-day fast cash program, we get into upsell, downsell, and cross-sell, because that can have an immediate impact, as well as compelling offers. We get deep into that. I've had clients increase business and increase cash flow at the same time by generating more compelling offers, risk reversals, and adding more value to the product, and bundling and packaging, being indifferent to the outcome, having a time limit on when the offer is good for, having scarcity where, they only have 3 appointments left, or they only have 3 units left. All those things have added to their cash flow because they're able to turn the sale quicker by having the compelling offers.
Yeah.
And so our 90-day to fast cash program, and, we guarantee increasing our clients' cash flow by at least 50% in 90 days, or we give all the money back. We don't, and that's, and we talk about how that's calculated and so forth up front, but we guarantee our performance. That's our risk reversal to your audience.
Nice.
And so, the way to participate in the 90 days to fast cash program is to go to our website, www.nextstepcfo.net. Go to the contact form in the website, fill out the contact form, and in the message section, put 90 days to fast cash, or just fast cash.
All right. Well, I want some fast cash. And we're going to fastly cash out of this place, because I think we gave them some great information today. And I absolutely love that we can give all these powerful business strategies from you, Michael Barbarita, from Next Step CFO. Everybody has to check you out, and everybody has to tune in every single Monday to the Positively Pipeman day of the week for the Adventures of Pipeman, where you can get more powerful business strategies from Michael Barbarita. Thanks for being here, and thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipeman.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.